Alright, welcome to the Carl Experience. This is going to be the second part. I'm not sure how many parts are going to be, but this podcast is going to be about racism and discrimination like the first part was. You'll have to go to Anchor FM or Anchor.fm to hear the first part because that's where I started this, and I was requested to do something that was video. Well, I guess for a wider audience. Let alone the apparently 8 platforms I'm already on. I really don't care if I'm on a platform or not. It really doesn't matter to me. Yeah, this whole podcast is based on my opinion and my philosophy on different subjects and stuff like that. Today I want to cover the race. I'll explain what that here is in a minute. And just so you guys know, I do have 2 dogs, a wife, and a 5-year-old. So the 5-year-old may come out from the bedroom, running, screaming about something that happened in the Minions movie, because she usually comes out and starts excitedly shouting about crap. So if it interrupts, yeah, it's just part of life. Because I am doing this in my living room, as you can tell by the Christmas lights on the wall and the flowery calendar. But anyway, yeah, I've got a few people that I got to get to listen to this. This time, I'm going to be sending it out to a lot of people if I can through YouTube. But I'm going to be hitting up everybody on Yahoo Messenger and not Yahoo Messenger, Facebook Messenger and Facebook itself. Because I'm just literally doing this out of my own thing. You can monetize your podcasts and your YouTube videos. Most of you already know that. Mine's not monetized because I'm just and this is just fun to do for me. I get to spout and eviscerate and regurgitate and vomit verbally. And okay, now we get down to the bit part of it. The race. The race can be best summarized as the video that went around on YouTube or indeed on Facebook, where you have a line of ethnically diverse people. There's, I don't know, 20, 30 people, maybe more, in this line. And about 50 to 100 feet away, there's a dude sitting there with anything from a $50 bill all the way up to a $1,000 bill. And when they're starting, they're told that's there's this bill, you can get it if you get to it first. But first, we have some questions for you, and if you answer yes to any of these questions, you get to take a step forward. You've got everything from a 4'5" girl volleyball player, whatever she does, blonde-haired chick, all up to a black kid who stands about 6.5 feet tall. So obviously he takes a step. It's like 3 of hers. Now here's the funny part. Each of the varying qualifying questions are based on race, family, environment, education, and economics. Were your parents of the same race? Were they married? Was your family? Did all of your family members talk? Were your parents still married when you were born? Environmental factors. Were you raised in a good neighborhood, a bad neighborhood? All that sort of stuff. All that idiotic crap. And then education. Did you make good grades? Did your parents help you do this and that and the other? Did you do well academically? Did you get into college? Did you play in sports? All that kind of crap. And then there's economics. Were your parents wealthy? Were they middle class? Were they poor? And in the end, there is a white guy who stands, I don't know, maybe 6 foot, maybe. It looks like he's very muscly, or average muscly. Apparently he's a wrestler, or some weird thing like that, and he has literally had every benefit of being economically well off, from a right family, blah, 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 blah. Go down the line. He's answered about 30 questions. And they told him he needed to take medium steps. So he's answered all these questions. And this, I'm guessing maybe 5-foot Asian chick is like literally right beside him, because, you know, the only thing she's been disadvantaged as of is being of an ethnic minority, Asian. And then he's like, well, now if I say go, you two are going to be right on me. You're literally like 5-10 foot away. Everybody else, I mean, you've got a bunch of black and Latino kids that are still back at the starting line because they didn't have any of these advantages, if we'll call them that. What I think about this is it's wholly full of crap. I come, like, you know, and this is only for an example. Honey, quiet. I come from a dirt poor family. My family, we were dirt poor. Like when I was 16, I asked you may as well let her out, dear. You may as well, I asked my parents for $20 to get something when I was 16. It took me 6 weeks of waiting to get the $20, and then they told me it was because of I did my chores, and I did more chores than I needed to, so they had to pay me. They had to repay me back for the time I took out to do that. I've been working since I was like 12 or 13. I started out cleaning a laundromat, the entire laundromat, for a quarter, so that I could play a pinball machine. I got really good at pinball, by the way. But there are so many of us who have been born into nothing. Our parents are poor. Our parents didn't make the right choices. My dad, growing up, when it hit the weekends, unless you were going to the lake or it was cold outside, Dad wasn't around because Dad had to go womanizing around and go hit up a bunch of nudie bars and stuff like that with his friend. Now, with that being said, I didn't lack for attention because my dad was there. Just wasn't there like he probably should have been, but at least he was there. I knew who he was. I knew he was my dad and my father. But what really jerks my chain is when people say, "Well, I grew up poor." So did I. I grew up poor. I worked my way up. When I hit 18, instead of doing what everybody else did and work with electronics, I shunned electronics and started working with power tools and went into construction. I became a carpenter. I started out framing, then doing drywall, blah, blah, blah. You name it, I was volunteering to do it. That was all the stuff I was doing at the time. I was very into it because it was one of the things that I liked to do. Now, everybody else in my family has gone and worked with machines and electronics and all that other kind of nonsense, but that's beside the point. I did what I wanted to do, which was work with wood and build things. Not necessarily out of metal, but build things. And I've become quite good at it. Now I built my own table here recently, my own good quality table. It's not perfect, it's a prototype, but you probably already know that. Now, how many people have I seen that have been through who were born destitutely poor, well below the poverty line like I was, and they've gone on to do great things? I have met, I don't know, dozens of people who grew up in the same neighborhoods I did, grew up the same way I did, and they went ahead and got better. She wants more noodles, dear. Put it in the...
Go put it in the kitchen. I'll get it in here in a minute.
Now, they grew up destitutely poor and they grew up in poverty, but didn't stay poor. They've owned their own businesses, sold them, gotten rich, been poor again, all that crap. I have too. Close your door, monkey! Boy, 5-year-olds, they never remember a damn thing until it's time for movies. Anyway, yeah, with all that going on, you can claim that you grew up dirt poor, you came from the wrong family, all this other junk. Well, the people who say that, I say to hell with it, because I grew up with white kids spitting on me. So yeah, I got that, and then when I was in third grade, we were studying World War II, and I got called Nazi because my hair was a lot longer than it is now, and I had a full head of hair back then. In third grade, I had a full head of hair, and it looked blonde, and I got so mad that I went up to my foster parents. I was in foster care at the time, and they cut my hair, and I went from blonde to a real deep blood red hair. My head looked like it was bleeding. I mean, I went to school and everybody was shocked. Nobody knew I had two-tone hair. At the top blondes out, and the underneath just goes red. And nowadays I just keep my hair short because, balding and all that. It tends to be an issue in the family. It's male pattern baldness, but I grew up destitutely poor. I didn't even know what $1 was until I was past 10 years old. Everybody else is like, "Ooh, you got $1. You must have enjoyed that." I didn't know what $1 was until I was 10. Magara Hash. Everybody seems to, the kid and the dog just seem to love to whine when it hits a certain time of the night. Because they all want attention and just a load of it. But anyway, with all those factors going in, I've owned my own business. I've owned 2 homes. And I was stupid to give those up, but that was my choice. I did it by choice. If I went back, and if I could go back and redo it, I would redo certain things. I would sell both homes and make a killing and not have to worry about anything because I fixed them up. And if you can hear my phone buzzing, it's because apparently I was stupid enough not to sign into Facebook before I did this. So that's on me. Apparently everything explodes after 7 o'clock. Apparently everybody decides, oh, it's 7:30, gotta blow the damn internet out. But anyway, I don't buy into these qualifying questions about race, family, environment, education, and economics. I do not buy it because none of them, in reality, matter like that. If you're dead set on making something of yourself, you will make it. If you have to fake it until you make it, you'll make it somehow. The issue is how you do it. And what's worse is when people who do these qualifying questions, they're committing compunction. And for those of you who don't know what a compunction is, it's a feeling of guilt or a moral scruple that prevents or follows doing something bad. So when you've discriminated, that tends to happen. My hugest issue is the older generation, 60, 70-year-olds who still use the N-word. I don't approve of that at all. In fact, I usually stop talking when they use that word because I wasn't raised to use the word. My mom has used it. She was raised by a dad who used it. But my dad didn't allow us to use racial slurs. We learned what they were from my mom, but we didn't use them at all growing up. Now, what I like to cover here is a couple of the racial privileges, and this is going to seem really stupid to some of you, but bear with me on this. First of all, let's cover the big one: white privilege, which, if you didn't know, is a big load of hooky or bahookie. If you've ever seen Open Season, it's a load of bunk. White privilege doesn't mean anything. I mean, if privilege only amounts to how much other people count on what you stand for. If, like, you come from a really rich white family and you buck that system of aristocratic white people, you don't have white privilege because you're not using the privilege you got or that you were given upon being born. Your name is only as good as you make it to be. Now, admittedly, you got some pretty crappy relatives, and you got crappy relatives, and they make a bad reputation, so your last name is utterly abhorrent. You tend to have issues with that. But, yeah, white privilege, usually amounts to police protection or police not being as quick to grab their guns. Some people say it's an employment issue. White privilege goes to employment. No, I've actually been rejected for being white for certain jobs. And because of the way I was raised, it was don't ever concentrate on the race, concentrate on the work. If I didn't do a good job or somebody didn't like my work, okay, get over it. Move on. That's part of life. You're going to get rejected sometimes for no reason at all. And so I try to imbue that or imbrue that upon my children as well. Life doesn't give you a damn thing except heartache and disappointment. You decide to make your life better. If you choose to ruminate on the negative, then that's what you will get. Some people claim that white privilege involves education. Well, he was a white guy who did all this stuff, so he's getting into a good college. At that point, they're looking at the most disadvantaged people who have worked the hardest to keep everything up, because they do actually check your credit score when you go to college. I know they did mine when I went to WTI. It doesn't matter if you're going to Votech, whatever. They're checking your credit score and all this other crap to see what it is. And if you've got no late bills, nothing like that, then they'll likely accept you. Now, if you have a rich white parentage or a familial line, that can help too. But it doesn't help the same way, because they expect you to maintain this like perfect track record of education, which obviously doesn't happen. Because obviously in those cases you pay off a kid to do all the work for you and you just end up an idiot. Okay. And then there's the sexual stuff when it comes to white privilege. Meaning if he's white and rich he can do anything. No. Do not buy that for 1 second. That is a falsehood. That is nonsense. And yes, I actually did some reading on this. There are people who actually think because certain white guys have a lot of money, they can get any woman they want anytime they want to do anything they want them to do to them. Not true. In these cases, the women are selling their services, if you want to call it that. But that's pretty much just a white privilege. I mean, people are saying, well, you don't know what it's like to be black. Of course I don't know what it's like to be black, but you don't know what it's like to be me as a white person. Am I saying I have it the easy? Am I saying I have it the hardest? Not by a long shot. Do I have it the easiest? Oh, no. No. The issue with most of that is people's conjecture, because people think because I'm white and that I can be well spoken and be very verbose and communicate myself, that means that I'm privileged. I'm not privileged. Now, we're going to get to the weirder part, which most of you will think is racist, but it's not. There's black privilege, and those of you, people who say there's no such thing as black privilege, yes, there is. There's actually black privilege alive and well. As an example, you have the Academy Awards, the Tonys, the Emmys, blah, 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 blah. You got all these damn award shows. Okay, what about the Essence Awards? What about the BET Awards? I can guarantee you, not a lot of white people win at those award shows because of they're not black. And they want to talk about inclusion like that. Well, we need to have more black people at the award shows. Have an entire slew of white people at the ESPYs or at the BET Awards. Do that and I'll be impressed. Till then, don't tell me about black privilege. When you can have your own damn award show just for black people, that is privilege. Now, sports and academics is one thing. I mean, there are more people that get through on their ability to participate in sports and their performance in sports. And a lot of them do happen to be African American by descent. And I'm not saying all of them aren't worthy of it, but most of the kids that I grew up with were growing up trying to be like Michael Jordan and all these other guys. And less than 1% of them even went anywhere. You're talking like in middle school, we had all the kids who wanted to be pro athletes. Megara, all the kids who wanted to be pro athletes. Would you let her out of her kennel, please? God. All the kids who wanted to be pro athletes, they had them all line up, and then started separating them by how many would make it to this level, this level, this level, this. And out of all those kids, we're talking like 50, 60 kids in middle school, just in my grade alone. One made it to the pros by statistics, and usually, it's somebody who's black. Now, the other bigger difference with black privilege is the culture. They got the community or the culture, their own national anthem, their own fight songs, their own everything. Well, you want here's the thing I usually say to people who are race baiting, like Al Sharpton. She's hungry, dear. When you're talking about difference in race, you cannot just say, well, we can't do this because you're doing it. Okay, well, at the same time, you've got your own stuff going on, and then when you say we need to acknowledge it, you don't acknowledge ours, so why should we acknowledge yours? There's a huge gap there. And yes, there is such a thing as black privilege. Like when the riots in Harlem started back in the civil rights movement era, I had an English teacher named Miss Barlow. I believe it was my freshman year. The only day of her life she was ever glad she was born black is the day that those riots happened. Because when the riots happened, she was black. And that's the only thing that kept her alive, walking through the neighborhood she lived in. This kind of stupid stuff about saying white privilege, what about the black privilege? Yes, there are award shows started by white people, but they don't just include white people. Black people have at least 2 shows where only they show up and only they get awards. No white people get them. Now, then there's Latino privilege, which is kind of a thing. Latino privilege is more cultural than anything else. They don't speak just English or a variant of English. A lot of them speak just Spanish. And to my understanding of how we're supposed to work here in America, I understand we're supposed to accept all these cultures, but at the same time, it says in a few epic poems written during the building of our country and the founding of our ideals, leave your culture behind. Come and melt with us. Be us. Help us become better. That doesn't mean don't speak our language. Come here and don't speak our language and don't adopt any of our traditions. Just do whatever you want to do. That's not what it's supposed to be about. It probably smells like fajita meat, dear. Now, you have cultural and lingual. Now, and I'm not saying that everybody needs to speak like the Dave Chappelle thing or the Eddie Murphy thing of speaking in complete sentences and enunciating every single letter. Because I'm white and I don't speak like that at all. Seriously, when they're like, well, I would like to enunciate my grievances with your infatuations. White people, unless you're in drama, you do not talk like that. A lot of people do, but we. A lot of people say that whites talk like that. We don't. Black people have their own way of talking. I've heard people who are from New Orleans, and they speak an entirely weird-ass language. And I'm not talking the Creole either. I'm talking a variant of English. They speak it, and until you're accustomed to it, you have no idea what the hell they're saying. It sounds like fast mumble rapping or something. Latinos, they can actually make their own, they could actually make their own language, but they choose to, most of them dip between speaking English and Spanish. and they're a more insular but wanting to spread community. So Latino privilege isn't a huge thing, but wanting to just move your entire family here, and all of a sudden everybody's a citizen. You got all these rights. Okay, but there's a system set up for that, and my biggest issue with the whole Latino privilege thing is the cultural stuff. They're allowed to keep their own language. They're allowed to keep their own customs, even though they fled Mexico to come here. If you came here, why are you practicing anything you did in Mexico at all? I just don't see it. Okay, now with Asian privilege, and this is going to sound so weird that it's not going to be really familiar to a great deal of you. But there is such a thing as Asian privilege. Nobody talks about it because nobody really notices it. The Asian culture is very insular. They insulate themselves very well. Yes, you have a bunch who like to go out and assimilate with the rest of everybody, but that's by far the assimilators. The ones who assimilate to our culture are far and few between. They'll add stuff from our culture to theirs, but there's a lot of insular Asian cultures or Asian culturalists around. Their education is normally way better than ours. They usually get hammered to be good at science and math, and literally that's how they get around. That's what they hammer each other on constantly, apparently, is math and science. That way they can go on and have a great career, go on to college, and all that. Then there's a socioeconomic privilege, because when a lot of Asian families come here, they save every last penny, and they will buy knockoff stuff in a heartbeat. I'm not saying it's bad. If I could buy some knockoff stuff, I would. Unfortunately, one of the few things I can't buy knockoff is Crocs, and yes, I do wear them. They are comfortable because of the issue I have with one of my ankles, which causes my foot to hurt. So I wear Crocs, and it solves the problem. Now, most Asian families, when they first get here and they're free and clear of everything, they start saving every single penny. They don't waste a penny. They will go without certain things. They buy rice really cheap, so they get all this stuff for a hell of a discount or very little money. They eat a very meager diet, and then when they finally have enough money to throw around, they do something useful with it. Not that the rest of us don't, but they already have their eye on something. They already have their eyes on a particular prize. And the sad part is unless you are a well-spoken, well, you don't have to be well-read, just a well-spoken white or black person, you're probably going to encounter some sort of discrimination along your way. I know for a fact that people think I suffer from white privilege. I don't. As a matter of fact, I suffer from the anti-white privilege. I had to work hard as hell to get everything that I had growing up. I mean, you wanted to make money, you had to work your butt off for it. There wasn't no cheap shot. It didn't matter if you were the owner, if your daddy owned the car lot next door. If you wanted to clean the entire laundromat for money, the people in charge back then used to actually make sure you cleaned everything. They'd walk behind you and check every little thing to make sure you were doing the job correctly the first time. Otherwise, you weren't getting the money. And with blacks, or with black people, they face a lot of discrimination when it comes to housing, schooling, unless it's in a crap neighborhood, in which case, who cares, as long as you've got money to pay, however much rent, and you can get to the school without being killed. Who cares? I don't particularly like that synopsis because I grew up in really, really, really bad neighborhoods, and I was treated worse than the black kids. I was literally treated worse than the black kids, the Latinos, the Asians. I was treated worse than all of them. And yeah, I came through it all right. Mind you, I had a better mindset than most kids did. I cried a lot because you get the hell kicked out of you. And when I turned into when I started hitting my teen years, I started fighting a lot. So yeah, I got good at that. But in rundown neighborhoods, if you are not looking and speaking in an eloquent manner, you will probably be rejected for being black, Latino, or Asian. Asians can live damn near anywhere. Like literally, there's not a limit. Latinos, not so free. You can live anywhere from the slums up to middle class and possibly high class, but that means you did a whole lot of fixing up. No, I'm not banging that. Hold on a second. God damn it. Oh, let's see here. Have to check on something because it looks like everything I had going just stopped. But, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get off here to figure out what the hell's going on with this crap because I'm getting tired of doing this damn podcast. It's like my third attempt at doing it. So have fun, y'all. And leave a message. Bye.